Morning folks, it's Sunday the 24th of March 2024, just after 10 o'clock in the morning. I promise I'll keep this one brief. Slight change of scenery. I'm about 10,300 feet on the route of the Peak Trail, just below San Jacinto Peak, which is up there above me, just descended. A few things I wanted to point out from here was my ascending and descending snowshoe tracks, hopefully over my shoulder there, reasonably prominent. But my ascending tracks from only about an hour, maybe even less than an hour ago, there, my snowshoe tracks already starting to fill in. We're halfway through a minor storm. We had about, between 1 and 3 inches of snow overnight. Largely overnight, some of it was yesterday afternoon. Dusting in Idlewild, I measured about an inch at Humber Park, 6,500 feet. Highest depth I measured was at 9,100 feet at Annie's Junction, that's near PCT mile 181, 3 inches, and then higher up, including at San Jacinto Peak, about 2 inches. Which is usually an indication that the high country was above the cloud. And there is the cloud still. Really, really thick, dense marine layer of cloud there off to the southeast. That's at about 9,000 feet and just completely encasing the PCT. Basically, the whole PCT and the San Jacinto Mountains at the moment is in cloud. I came up through that this morning, broke trail all the way from Humber Park. I was hiking up through sort of minor blizzard conditions up to about 9,100, which is where it stopped snowing. It's still down in amongst that cloud. It is still snowing lightly and forecast to continue up here. May eventually get into the cloud, and we get this afternoon and evening another inch in the high country, but I got a feeling lower down at the elevations of the PCT we might get a little bit more, just because it's encased in that cloud. So basically everything to the west of the Peninsula Range is in deep cloud, and as you can see behind me to the east, the Coachella Valley is in the sun. And unfortunately, as is normal these days, Coachella Valley's got a terrible sandstorm going on, which is what happens whenever there's a strong westerly wind. So I was able to bare boot to about 9,000 and then switch to snowshoes. That was the same as a few days ago. I've got spikes and crampons with me. Could probably do it as comfortably in crampons as in snowshoes, but crampons and snowshoes are the kind of gear recommended, well, certainly once you get above 9,000. Some people will find them useful significantly lower than that. Although the amount of snow was pretty limited, unfortunately it was accompanied by really strong winds. So I was surprised even as low as 6,500 feet at the beginning of Devil's Slide Trail, the tracks had all been eliminated. Even though there was a pretty prominent track on Devil's Slide Trail up until yesterday, it's gone, or it had gone until I put a new one in this morning. May not last very long between the new snow expected today and probably some more strong winds overnight. We've had a couple of incidents particularly on this section of the PCT Desert Divide in the last few days. As in the trail report, I generally don't tell people what they should or shouldn't do. I avoid that. I just try and give objective information as to what's actually going on, what the conditions are. But with this fresh dusting of snow, the icy patches that have been causing some problems on between about 169 and 177, somewhere in there, it's just going to be even trickier. So I know the majority of folks are getting off at either 151 or at 166 Phobes or 168.5 Spittler. That's probably a good strategy for the time being. Likewise, most folks are going around. Cloud and the wind picking up around me. To avoid Fuller Ridge, they're taking the Black Mountain Road alternate and rejoining the trail at about 191. I forgot to mention that the main reason I dropped down here rather than doing this video up at the peak was because there is a very strong west wind. The wind chill was minus 12.5 Fahrenheit. That's about minus 25 centigrade. So it was nice to find a sunny slope without too much wind on it. The good news, I guess, is that after tomorrow, for a few days it will warm up and probably much of the newer snow will melt. The not so good news for hikers, at least, is that there's a fresh storm coming in. There's a lot of uncertainty about the details so far. Comes in around, well, next weekend basically, which off the top of my head is going to be something like 29th, 30th of March, maybe 30th, 31st. And potential projections for the high country are significant snow. Could be if not the biggest, certainly the second biggest snow of the snowstorm of the winter. Tentative projections up here of as much as 1 to 3 feet. And again, a dusting throughout the whole PCT in the San Jacinto Mountains, by which I typically mean sort of about 151 through to about 20 or 200, somewhere around there. So I will take another look at what's happened tomorrow as well, and in the interim, safe hiking everyone.